There are people who don't just speak about truth, they live it. People who create their lives from the inside out with intention, honesty, and presence. Mathilda Ritzén is one of those people. Welcome to 34O, the podcast about intimacy, presence, and the quiet spaces within us where we actually meet ourselves and each other. Mathilda is an entrepreneur, podcaster, life coach, and creator whose presence feels both grounding and expansive. She moves at the intersection of truth, intuition, and inner purpose, following a rhythm entirely her own, even when it challenges the stories the world expects her to follow. In her own podcast, Live Your Truth, she explores relationships, identity, femininity, the light we carry, and the shadows we avoid. And in one interview, she describes how she shapes her lives the way she shapes her home, with intention, honesty, and a devotion to what feels real rather than what is prescribed. Mathilda is one of those rare voices who awakens something in others, a compass, a longing, a return to their own why. And today, we dive into all of it, her journey, her insights, and her truth. Let's begin. Mathilda, I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Super. And I thought we can just maybe dive straight into some questions and start the conversation.
Sure.
So what has shaped you the most in terms of relationships and intimacy in general?
Wow. This is a huge question because I think intimacy and relationship, they have shaped me. So basically relationships or maybe the lack of healthy relationships in terms of love have really been the journey of my awakening.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It's interesting that we are going to have this as a topic today because it's something that I speak about in my channels, but I don't have it as a theme or as a main topic. But it's definitely something that has been extremely important on my journey. So I'm excited to talk about this topic today. And the question was, what has shaped me the most in terms of relationships?
Yeah.
I think I learned everything through my relationships. And I think all humans do. That's why we have relationships, because they are the best way for us to grow and to experience life in every way. If we stay with the love relationships and the more intimate relationships, I have had a lot of different experiences of feeling not enough and not seen and not loved the way I've been craving. And this comes from growing up feeling like I wasn't seen and loved the way I wanted to or was hoping for, or so I have then picked partners who are basically the same, who didn't really see me fully and didn't have time for me and wasn't capable or ready to be in a committed relationship. So it has really been a journey. I've actually never experienced a partnership where I am fully loved for who I am and a partner who is fully committed yet.
So unconditional love is something that you're still waiting for.
Yes, and I don't even know if that's possible to have between two partners, but the love of two people who are whole and loving themselves, who come together in an interconnected relationship, is something that I'm still waiting to experience. But the relationships it's been basically my path to growth, and how I've learned to love myself, essentially. So through all these experiences where I've had my heart broken so many times, it has been the best way for me to understand that I am whole and I don't need anyone else to see me for me to see myself. So it's been a very difficult and challenging journey, but also extremely rewarding, and I wouldn't exchange it for anything in the world, because it has taken me to where I am today. So yeah, I think it's it's a summary of many heartbreaks, but also immense awakening.
And I think you're extremely brave in the way you are talking in your own podcast about the way you look at love and life and what you're sort of manifesting for yourself in the future as well. I think it's just a beautiful way of showing hope.
Yeah.
In one way.
Yes. Yeah, I'm speaking in
That's very beautiful.
In one of the episodes I released about being 35 and single, because I broke up with my latest partner in the summer, so a few months ago. And this time it was my decision, I guess it was a mutual decision, but I think it was a little bit more my decision. And it's different because I never experienced being on that side. I was always the one who was left. And now this time I was making a decision for myself, for my future family. And it changes a lot inside of me. But it's also a fact to be 35 and single and have a dream of family life, which has always been my biggest dream ever since a very, very young age. But still, I have because of all of these experiences, I can now see what I deserve. And I'm 1,000% sure that I'm going to experience it quite soon. Because I am in a stage where I really, really, really know what I want, and I know what I deserve. And I feel like it's coming and it's happening very soon, because I am so clear. The partner,
so you're aligning yourself.
Yes. And I know, because I've been doing this in other areas of my life, aligning myself in friendships and job and living situations and lifestyle. So I know when something is coming very soon, and I know when something is coming from the right place. This time, for the first time in my entire life, I am not attracting from lack. I'm not attracting from a place of needing him or a partner to validate my worth and validate my that I'm actually lovable. I see it myself for the first time ever, and I see it fully. I thought I saw it 1.5 years ago when I met my partner, but now I really, really see it in a new way. And I know that the partner I'm attracting from this place is going to be someone completely different from what I've had before.
Yeah. And we're all worthy of love. And I think that's a key realization. And when you come from the place, it's going to attract you in the right partner in the right way.
Yes. But I think I thought I was worthy of love, and I think I thought I loved myself before. But then I attracted partners, which made me realize that I actually didn't. And I still had a lot of things to work through in relationship to my past and my upbringing and wounds that I had to really, really, really dig deep into and understand and see the truth of those wounds. And I did all of this work in the spring, summer, when me and my partner had some issues, and we at the end we broke up. But it was really, really good. And I'm so happy for this painful period, which taught me that it was never me. It was never them. It was just the matches and the timing and what place I was attracting from. That was the issue in the previous relationships. And all this learning is amazing. And I feel very, very grateful and strong today.
No, it's beautiful the way you're looking at it. And I would say that when you look at how a lot of people are doing the work on like the inner child or the wounds you have, and what I've learned there is you do that work, and it's not like a one-time fix. Unfortunately, what I've seen is so when you get more uplifted, or you increase your frequency, if you will, you start looking at the same wound from a different angle. And then you still have, it still is there, if you will, right? It's still, the wound is there. But I think the key thing for me has been more about awareness of it.
Yeah.
So the way I'm looking at it is much more how I've talked about my son a few times before on this podcast, where he's the one who's actually triggering me the most. And I used to be very like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing that for? And now I'm much more, yes, I see that I'm getting triggered by him.
Yeah.
I can sit with that feeling, and I can choose to respond in a very different way.
That's amazing.
And it's the same thing with a partner, because I think it's in a loving relationship where you are getting mirrored the most and triggered the most. And if you really want to test yourself, how far you come with your own healing, is to be in a long-term relationship and actually test yourself there.
Yeah.
And that's where you do see that, right? And the way you can hold the other person, give space to the other person, and be there. And I think that's, and it feels like you're getting to that level yourself. So.
I think so. And you're very right. It's completely necessary to be in some relationships to learn a few things. I think I spent a lot of time on my own I had a lot of years being single, and it's good to come to a certain level of self-realization and understanding and getting to know yourself. And but it was completely necessary for me to be in this last relationship now to really understand and embody everything that I learned on my own and put it into practice in the relationship with him. And it was amazing to experience a relationship already, that one, from a new place where I know myself much better, and I can be vulnerable, and I can speak about my feelings, and I can, it was a completely new experience from what I experienced in the past. So yeah, being in a relationship to learn things is very important.
Yeah, I agree on that. I agree on that completely. And I think that's where yes, on love though, I would say that there is, first of all, I think you get born into a family, which is, I think the first love everyone sees, right? And then you don't choose it, you get born into it.
Yeah.
I would say that then you have the friendships, which is something you can choose. That's the family you choose, is sort of the friendships. The romantic love, I would say, can be either a storm or a safe haven, if you will, if you do it right. And I think where a lot of people struggle the most, though, is with self-love and how you actually start with that. And I see a lot of people, and I was dating a lot before as well now, and I see that a lot of women were like, I used to ask, like, how do you prioritize if you have yourself, your partner, if you have children, or your parents, for example? And it was like children, parents, something else, and then last was yourself. And for me, it's like, if you don't love yourself, all the other loves would actually fall or not be as strong as they should be. Because if you don't love yourself and prioritize yourself first, it's going to be very hard to be truly there. You're going to come from, as you said, you're going to come from a place of lack, not of abundance and feel like. And I think that's sometimes a beautiful way to look at it, I guess.
I agree, completely agree. And that has been, I think, the biggest one for me to understand. Because I was coming from a place of performance. I thought I had to perform. I had to give up myself in order to be loved. And understanding through this beautiful relationship I was just in, understanding that if I prioritize myself and I'm speaking from a true place of love for myself first, it's going to create harmony, and it is what's actually going to make love last. And it's going to create respect amongst the two of us, and I can love him from a pure place. It was, that was a big one to understand, and understand that I can actually, I can prioritize myself in a relationship. I don't need to give up who I am in order to be loved. I really, really thought that was the case before, which made love very difficult for me, because every time I entered a relationship, I lost myself. So I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't be like, I had a hard time being with my friends. I was only focusing on him because it was all about like sustaining this love. And I thought that was something that I had to do. I was responsible for this love to remain, or he would leave me. So
were you afraid of being abandoned? Is that
I was extremely afraid of being abandoned. It was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
And I realize now that the more I focus on being happy in myself, the better the relationship is going to be, if it is with the right partner. If it's with the wrong partner, it might not work out, but that means that the partnership is wrong, because that means that maybe the other part is not strong enough in their self-love to be a match. But I think it's a good test for the relationship if you really, really focus on, or not focus on, but you make clear what you want and how you want things to be. And then you act from that place of love for yourself, and then see if the relationship actually can take it. Of course, being considerate of the other partner, and a partnership is always about doing certain sacrifices, or like to mediate, to find a common ground. But it should come from a place of love, not giving up on things.
Yeah, I think, I see love as, a lot of people say love is a feeling, but in one way, for me, it's much more like a verb. It's an active choice we make. And if you make an active choice every day, I choose to love you every day.
Yeah.
Then you move into a place of awareness and presence, right? That you actually choose it every day, and you do that all the time. And then I think a lot of people are worrying too much about what's going to happen in the future, or dwell too much about the past. And this is a constant challenge, I guess, where you need to be in the now. And I think I see that as something I see a lot with people, also myself in my previous relationships. And when you also, I like to see it in a way that I try to talk about 1 + 1 = 3. That when you are two people looking at love in the way you're describing it, and you choose each other like that, you should actually generate more than what you would do by yourself.
Yes.
So that's by doing that, I think you're going to get to a level where it's going to be even higher. You can get to a higher degree of love, but also generate more. I mean, I would lift you up so you can achieve more by you.
Yes.
And more than you could do by yourself. And equally, if you would do the same with me, I would do more than I would be able to do myself as well.
Yeah. I heard this from a friend who just had a baby, and they said that they focus on, so both of them are conscious and work, doing the work on themselves, which I think creates a good foundation for becoming parents. And they said that they both focus on that the other person should have more. So if both are focusing on that the other one should have more in terms of, I don't know, like more sleeping hours, or more time for themselves, or all the good stuff that you want when you're a new parent. And this creates what you described, which creates this third energy of abundance.
Exactly.
So I think it's amazing, and I think that comes much easier if it's two people who have been doing this work on themselves, and they can actually love from that place. I think that would have been hard for me, or because I had so much other things at play, wounding and other motives in the relationships. I think it would be easier for me to do this from the place I am today.
Yeah, that comes with maturity, and I think we're all on a journey, and it's about awareness. So when you become aware about it, that's when you can actually start realizing it in a different way.
Exactly. Yes.
So what do you think is the biggest misconception between women and men today?
Oh my gosh. What is the biggest misconception? I think it is what I just talked about, that you should become someone in order to be loved. That is one of them, that you need to change yourself, or you need to be something that you're not, or you need to perform in a certain way. When I learned that I can just relax into who I am, and from that place, like show up in the relationship, it changed everything. And it made everything so much deeper, and it made my partner completely relax so much more. And he could also come into a place of being just himself in a vulnerable state. I think that was that was the biggest thing for me. So if two people in a relationship understood that they can just be themselves, and they can talk truth in the relationship, they can speak about their needs, their wants, their wounding, their fears, their longings, their desires, from a completely true, heartfelt space, that would change a lot of relationships.
I would agree on that. And I think a lot of people they're acting from a place of fear when they're in a relationship, rather than from a place of love.
Yeah.
When you act from a place of fear, you constantly are afraid about being abandoned, or losing your home, or losing your status, or whatever that might be, right? That you're actually acting from a place of fear. You're not coming from it from a place of love, that you realize that, okay, fine, I choose to love you, and I would be okay. If you would not choose me and you would leave, I'm still going to be okay. Obviously, my life will be so much better when we are together and we choose to love each other, right? And I think that realization there is, because the world is not going to be evaporating. And I think a lot of people are projecting an image of love to the other person instead of actually seeing the connection. And it's not going to be a rose-tinted picture either when you're in that place, right? Because I think love is truly also about, how do you handle conflict within the relationship?
Yeah.
And how do you solve agreements? And
but what if in those agreements or disagreements, that if you could just, after being super triggered and you need to regulate yourself a little bit, if you could come back to a place of vulnerability and actually speak about what your fears are, it's quite interesting, because it's always that both parties are scared of being rejected or left or not being good enough. It is always about that fear, which is always the underlying fear in all relationships and all disagreements that we have. I mean, if you look at the wars that we have in the world, like that is also the underlying fear of not being good enough and not being chosen, basically. So if we can, in a relationship, if we can come down to this conclusion, and then we can look each other in the eyes. It's very vulnerable, and it requires you to put aside your ego a lot, because it's scary. But if you can do it, and then you can look each other in the eyes and say like, hey, I just don't want to be rejected. I just want to be chosen. And the other person says the same. And then you can be like, oh, but we choose each other. Like, it's easy, quite easy, but it requires a lot of bravery, and it requires a lot of inner work to actually be able to speak from your adult self in this way.
Is, because if it's a 6-year-old and there are two 6-year-olds,
exactly, it's not going to work.
Bodies. Exactly. And
but this is why doing the work on understanding your inner landscape is everything in a relationship. And that's why I think you need to also be with a partner who also does this work, because it's just going to make life so much easier.
Yeah, sometimes I like to think that you almost need a driver license to start a relationship.
Exactly. Yes.
In one way.
Honestly, yeah. I think if we would learn a little bit of those things in school, oh my gosh. But now we have parents who are much more conscious, and they're going to raise children who are going to be much more conscious. So the world is moving in the right way in this aspect, I think. At least a lot of us coming from these parts of the world where we have the capacity, space, safety to work on these things within ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful the way you're putting it, and I am actually hopeful about where things are going.
I'm very hopeful, very, very optimistic. I also see the chaos in the world, but I think I'm a little bit isolated from all the pain, because I live on the countryside in Portugal. The sun is shining. I'm surrounded by mostly people who have chosen to come here because they have the same worldview. So I'm in a little bit of a bubble. But I obviously see all the things happening in the world, but I can also see that energetically we're moving into a more aware and a much more highly vibrant place.
I agree. And I mean, we talked about it before we recorded here as well, but I think there is more polarization, I guess, in the world, to the point that, we have darkness on one side, and at the same time, I don't think at any time in human history, so many people have had the opportunity to choose light and the higher
and are choosing it. I mean, looking at the demonstrations for Gaza, like how millions of people came together and walked on the streets, probably their first demonstration ever. I mean, it's insane. The people are good. Like, we are born good, whole. Everyone, even the worst leaders that we see in the world right now, are in their foundation, they're good people.
I agree on that, and also light cannot exist without the dark.
True.
And we all have a dark side within us as well.
Yes, exactly. It's how we work with it.
Yeah, actually, that's another interesting way to look at it, right? So if you think about how a lot of people, and actually the school and the way we are brought up in society, I guess, is sort of that, those dark things you have,
push them
down. You push them, you suppress them, right? You should suppress them and hide them. And I think I like to talk about what you avoid controls you.
Yes.
Because if you avoid it and you avoid looking at it, it actually will control you. And you will not live life to the fullest. You will not be a whole person if you don't look at your light and your dark sides.
Exactly.
And by doing that, and it's scary as shit to do it. But
it's quite interesting why it's so scary. Because I mean, it is. And it's because we have those protectors within our system who really doesn't want us to go there. But if we come to the essence of all of these dark sides or shadow sides that we have, everyone has them. Everyone has the same. Every human being have the same stuff within us. So it's quite interesting. I think in terms of relationships, I have been super scared of being vulnerable, speaking about my fears to partners before. And now when I learned it's safe to do it, I'm like, what was I so scared of? Like, he has the same. And it's just like, it's so safe actually to speak about. This is also why I'm very vulnerable in my podcast, because I don't understand why I should be afraid or ashamed when everyone who listens has the same. Like, maybe not exactly the same stuff that I do, but they have similar fears within other areas of their life. And everyone has it. Like, I sit in conversations with women every day, all day long, and it's the same stuff, like we recognize ourselves in each other, and we're just everyone is the same, We
are.
Yeah. We have our weird stuff, and we're super ashamed of talking about them, but just do it.
And one way to look at it, I think fear is that it is an important feeling. And I think it's also about preservation of life. And it made humans survive. It's been almost like a survival mechanism to have fear. And I think it is a healthy emotion to have. But I think that when you become aware of it, you can actually choose to let it be in the back seat, not in the driver's seat. And I think that's a nice analogy. When you think about it, actually, it's a way of, I don't want it to control me. I don't want it to control what I'm doing, but I'm aware of it. I can use it when I need to, but it's not going to be driving me, if you will.
Exactly. And this is a big shift.
To
put it in the back seat, and you can actually in the driver's seat, you can steer your life in the direction of where you want to go. Instead of just being completely absorbed by fear. And I mean, most people in society today live completely controlled by fear.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I see that in relationships, a lot of people are coming at it from a place of fear. And when you do it, it's very hard to make it sustainable. And make it grow from there. So how do you experience then the difference between being seen and being desired? Is that something you've experienced in life so far?
I mean, I think it's completely different things. One, desired, I think, is coming from probably a place where the other person wants to achieve something within themselves by being with me. Being seen is when they put their own ego aside and they completely, fully see you and see your soul. And I think that's basically the difference between being ready for a relationship or an actual, like a real relationship, or not. And yeah, so again, I have been coming from desire, definitely, and not been able, like, I haven't really seen my partners before. But now I understand I've been doing things from ego.
Yeah. And everybody has an ego. And I think it's more also about, do you let the ego control you, or do you want to see that you actually are in connection? I think that's another area where you can.
Yeah, but I think it's so important that you do the journey of really going through your wounds and understanding that love is not about completing myself. Love is about, I am complete and I'm just adding another beautiful human to my life. And then we are going to, like, live side by side and have a wonderful life together, but we're not going to be here to complete each other. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, no, it's a very nice differentiation between the two.
Do you agree?
I do agree. I do agree with you. So what does feminine energy mean to you in practice, if you would embody it and talk about that in practice?
Wow. Another big one for me.
Yeah, I have only big questions.
Only big questions. These are super interesting questions. They're a little bit new questions for me. I usually speak about other things in interviews. So feminine energy, I've discovered also within myself the last years, and it has been something that I really didn't access before. I was very much in my masculine energy, and some people even find that hard today because I think I'm quite feminine today. So feminine energy is to be connected to your intuition, your heart, your inner landscape, and kind of be in surrender to life. And I try and do this as much as I can to listen to my inner guidance, which I believe is God or the universe or whatever word you want to use, and try and be moved by this instead of myself, instead of like guiding myself, or like instead of letting my brain guide my life. I want to have the guidance coming from this place, and be just ready to surrender to everything. So whatever happens, if your car breaks down, or someone is being sick, or a new love is coming into your life in a weird timing, or you get like scary ideas from your inside of where you want to take your business, and whatever there is, to just trust that this guidance or these life events happens for you, has really turned the volume up on my femininity, and to be able to follow along instead of trying to control life.
Yeah. I think it's so beautiful what you're describing. It is very beautiful, that journey, because I see a lot of women today are staying too much in their masculine energy, as you said as well in the beginning. And it feels like a lot of people are there. I mean, it's like it's a masculine world. If you think about how people are competing for things at work and identify themselves with what they do at work, and so much that they actually lose. I think a lot of women are losing touch with their feminine side in that sense.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think a lot of guys are getting confused by that in one way, because it's sort of a very masculine environment, and that's why I think that polarity is coming up more and more, I guess.
Definitely. And the more I've stepped into my femininity, the more I've also attracted men who are more in the masculine side, and which has created a beautiful dynamic that I didn't experience when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I think all women, most women who identify as women, I don't know, I'm not going to make bold statements, but most women I know are longing for this state where you can be fully, completely surrendered and you have this masculine counterpart who holds you.
Yeah.
Especially women who are entrepreneurs and running their life so hard, you know, like I have this so much in my life where I'm doing everything. Like I'm mothering my dog, I'm taking care of the house, I'm creating a business all by myself. And it's a lot of masculine energy that needs to go into those things in order to get stuff happening, you know, like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store and do all these things. I need to like book my trips and There's so much admin and stuff that needs to happen all the time, which, you know, I'm super happy for my masculine side because it is a doer and she creates, or that part of me creates so much beautiful things. But then to surrender to my femininity and also have moments in my life where I can completely relax and surrender. I think that is such a longing in so many women. And I think it's a longing in men to both also be in that state, of course, but also to really hold a woman. Because that is when I think, and I would like to hear your perspective, I think that is when men are really in their purpose.
I agree. And I mean, first of all, I think a lot of men should be more comfortable being in their feminine as well, because I think that's also when you're in that life force, I think it's also where you can be creative and you can be inspired and you can actually enjoy and receive pleasure in a different way, I guess, if you would talk about it like that. But then also the holding the direction you have as in the masculine, I think it's very different from, I wouldn't say it's about controlling women. It's about holding and giving space, holding space.
Yeah. Creating the grid kind of around women.
Men today, I think a lot of men are brought up to perform.
Yeah.
And we're here to perform and we're here to fix. And I used to do this myself. I wanted to fix things. If something was handed to me, I was like, it's like my ex-wife was telling me a problem, and I was just immediately trying to solve the problem. I was almost interrupting her, trying to fix it. I think that's a typical guy thing to do when you want to fix the problem. And I know I'm not alone. Most men are exactly like this, that they actually go about it trying to fix the problem, when all the woman actually wants is somebody to listen, to hold her.
But I think this is... Yeah, exactly. And I think this is just coming back to what we talked about with desire and to be seen. It's with the intention of why you do things. So if a man comes from a place of wanting to fix because he wants to be validated himself, or he's scared of a woman's feelings, then it's going to be quite uncomfortable for the woman, because it's not coming from actually listening and understanding and loving her or seeing her. It's coming from a desire of wanting to fix himself, actually. So I think that is why it's so uncomfortable for women, or it doesn't need to be women and men. It could be whatever, but for the other part to receive this fixing, because you feel that it's not coming from a pure place. It's not because you want to help me. It's actually because you just want to calm this situation so you can be calm yourself. Like it's less, you know, it's less of a partnership. It's more of a coming from a fear.
I think sometimes I try to think about this quite a lot. It would be more natural for me to maybe ask, like, do you want me to listen, to hug you, or fix something for you now, right?
Yeah.
And actually be more upfront about it, just to set the scene, so to speak, right? So you know almost immediately how you want to, and then you can say, okay, I just want a hug right now, or I want to talk about something, or I actually need help with something. So you go about it like that. I think that's a nice way to look at it as well, I guess. And men, however, I think in general, as I said, we're here to perform and we're brought up that way, and getting more aware about ourselves, that we're actually, you know, we're coming from a fear of not being enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And not being enough, we are enough. I would say actually men are enough. And it's,
you're more than enough. You're amazing.
And yeah, I agree on that. And I would say that if more men actually look at it that way, I think to your point, I think there's going to be so many more healthy relationships out there.
And women, on the other hand, are afraid of being too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Always. It's always this dynamic. No. And I used to think this until like a few months ago.
Yeah.
I had this as a core extreme wound where I was always coming back to I'm too much, I'm too much, I'm too much. And when I learned that this is the feminine wound and the masculine wound is I am not enough, I was like, it makes sense. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're going to trigger each other only then, right? And I think this is the other thing actually that I see a lot, that a lot of people go into arguments. We talked about arguments before. I think a lot of people are going into an argument with the intention to win the argumentation.
Yes.
And realizing that it's not me and you against each other, it's me and you against the problem we have, and we should focus on the problem. And that realization, I think, is so healthy when you get to it, when you can realize that we don't actually have a problem, you and I. We don't need to win the argument. I don't need to win against you. You don't need to win against me. But we have a problem that we need to discuss and resolve. And when we come from that point of view, I think that's really when you get to a point where you can be much more healthier in a relationship as well.
That's a very interesting way to look at a problem or a disagreement. Yeah.
And that's, you leave the ego at the door, basically, right? We talked about the ego before, because I think the ego lives on winning. It lives on boosting yourself that way, right? And when you leave the ego and you actually come into a relationship honest and open, that's when it becomes much more vulnerable and scary to some extent, but also much more intimate, right? The intimacy and the depth in the relationship you achieve is so much greater than what you have if you're coming from the ego.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the ego, I mean, it just wants to win because it's a survival. It only wants to survive. Like, it thinks it's being killed by a lion and it needs to fight or flight. It's just, that's just what it is. So that's a very animalistic part of us.
It is. So I think, but then we do have that, the animal brain, if you will, the primal brain that starts acting. And I think the being in the now, looking at life in real time, and from my own journey, I can say that I've been, acting a lot. I gave the example with my son, and it was the same with my ex-wife and all those things as well. But when I started being more aware about myself, I see things in real time. And I do the same thing now when I'm interviewing people, when I'm talking to people, I can see. And that's almost scary when you start realizing that you can actually see what the other person, you have these type of childhood wounds. These are the fears that drives you. And it's sort of powerful, but scary at the same time to get that realization, because you see that more or less in real time. And I guess it's a superpower, I guess, in one way to get to that point. But just being aware and you can start seeing things in real time, for me, is also taking time to actually choose how I want to respond to things and not let my primal brain take over and just react.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest one that happens when you do inner work, is that you have a longer response time from actually the trigger to the response. You create some space where you have time to choose a different response. And that's a big, that changes your life. Yeah.
And I agree on that completely. And another thing that is interesting on that is, we talked about this being vulnerable, and I've seen this with a few men today, and I'd like your point of view on this as well. I think there's almost something called oversharing in relationships, right? When you actually overshare your thoughts, because thoughts aren't always truth. Going back to what truth is, right? And I think that a lot of people might be sharing every little thought they have with their partner now. A lot of guys are doing this, just say, hey, I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'm going to give you everything I have. But that can almost be overwhelming. It's like emotional dumping, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And
especially if it's a lot of opinions about the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because I think authenticity is now being, people are blaming authenticity or like standing behind this term, and they think that they can say whatever they want. And
That's
it's
not being
not.
authentic. That's emotional
No,
dumping.
exactly, exactly. And exactly to your point. Yeah.
You're dumping emotions on the other person and expect them to hold it. And it's like, hey, I have all these things about you that I feel. You trigger this in me and you do. There's no self-responsibility there, right? Because I think, and that's my point there was the self-responsibility means that you get to feel a lot of stuff. You get triggered a lot. That doesn't mean that you need to tell all those things to your partner. It's about
No.
sitting with that and understand that, okay, you made me feel this way after a while when you sit with it. And then you can actually be more thoughtful about how you provide it because you don't necessarily want to hurt the other person intentionally. It's almost like you do that intentionally if you do it uncurated, if you will, right? And just give the information across instead of actually giving it more like, hey, how do we find, how can I, if you truly hurt me, I want to be able to tell that, right? That's of course that's the case, but it's not about every little thing you do. I can't just give it away, but I think a lot of guys actually today are going that path of oversharing, and that becomes almost overwhelming for the other person in that sense.
I think women do the same, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
I think it's it's something that really happens a lot. And I mean, before you understand your inner landscape, it's so difficult to navigate in all of these things because I mean, I'm just always thinking about how I used to act before I was more aware of my feelings and my wounds and all the different parts I have inside of me. I used to just completely react to everything, and I was super duper offended, and I was very easily hurt by everything. So I was very sensitive. I'm still extremely sensitive, but now I'm using my sensitivity to as a strength, hopefully. But I was like, I didn't understand, what was happening inside. So I think in order to even begin to speak from a true place within yourself, you need to do some inner reflection or like to work with your inner landscape to understand that, I was hurt by this because of X, Y, Z. Like this is what's happening. This is all my different parts I have inside of me. I work with parts work, which is a beautiful therapeutic tool that you use in order to understand, okay, now this is triggered inside of me. She said this to me, and it's because my dad used to say this to me, and that made me feel like I'm not worthy or whatever it is. And if you understand why you're triggered by certain things, it's so much easier to understand that it's not her. Like she's just pushing a button inside of you. And she actually doesn't mean it this way, but you have like a filter on the world where you just you're just gonna see and hear from the places of your wounds. So she probably meant something completely different, and she was not at all coming from the place where your dad was coming from or your mom was coming from, or they actually wasn't either coming from a bad place. Anyhow, you have your filters on the world, and you need to learn about those filters in order to have a good relationship. I think it's like necessary. I want to say this because I heard you have 58% men listening to this conversation, and that made me super happy. Because women are starting, like there is a revolution where so many people are waking up to understanding emotions, but it's still men are lacking behind, probably not the guys who are listening to this show. But it's so important that also men now are starting to understand themselves, like so they don't project their shit on the world, on their relationships, on their work environments. Or if we take it all the way to the furthest point in politics, and then you start war and you kill people because you have an inner child who wasn't seen by her mother or his mother.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like we need to step up evolutionary now and start like really taking responsibility for our own pain and not just destroy the world with our own pain.
I agree on that. If you think about it that way, think about that there are like a bunch of 6-year-olds making those decisions.
Exactly.
Starting waging wars.
when I'm sitting there and I'm supposed to vote, you know, for these politicians, and I'm like, oh my gosh, their level of awareness. I mean, I don't want to judge people because I think everyone at the foundation of everything is completely whole worthy.
Yeah.
But it's still interesting when you look at like how little they are in their adult selves, but they're actually speaking and talking from a wounded space. And then we're supposed to vote on these people to control us essentially in society. Like, no way.
There's a political conversation we could have there, but I think we can have a.
Oh my God, I love politics. I love to go into these broader questions. Like, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, we can do that too.
It's interesting. No, but it's interesting. Like, it's very basic. Like, once you understand the human psyche a little bit more, you understand, you can see, like what you were saying, like once you do the work on yourself, you start to see how other people operate from their inner children. And it's quite scary to understand that these people are in control of my money. They're in control of my health, or like the health system,
the school system.
The school system. Like, they're going to educate my children. No, fuck no. I don't want this to happen. Like, you know, like this is, I think, are going to start the revolution, which I think is happening quite soon, or it's probably already started, of changing all the systems in society. I think we're going to have in our lifetime a huge extreme change in how we operate in work, in school, in health. Everything is going to change because people are waking up and seeing these exact patterns, and we need to like up the standards,
up the ante.
Yeah,
I agree on that. Oh God, this is a long conversation. We could go on for a while, I think. So, but how do you create a safe space to open up in for yourself?
In a relationship, or?
Yeah, in a relationship, or with yourself as well, for that matter.
So it's all about this inner landscape that I spoke about. And the only way I can be now vulnerable in relationships, and also in my podcast or to my friends or whatever, is because I've finally cultivated safety within myself. And this took years and years and years to do. And especially intensely the last 6 years of through therapy or understanding, learning a bunch of stuff. I understood that these are just wounded inner young parts of me. And I also have an adult self. And this adult self is fully whole and confident, and she knows that she's fully loved and accepted as she is. And I can let these younger parts lean on my adult self for support. I don't need my parents to the same degree that I used to, or my partner or my friends, to validate me. I can actually now be validated by her. And since she's always there, like she's there from the morning and moment I wake up to I go to bed, and she's going to be there for the rest of my life. And when I go to my afterlife, she's going to come with me. Like, she's always going to be with me, which means I'm never alone. I can't be left alone because she's here. So if I, to my partner, talk about my feelings, fears, like I'm scared that you're going to leave me, or I'm scared you're going to be with someone else, or whatever the fears might be, I always have her. So if he leaves me because he thinks I'm too much, I'm not going to be alone. And this feeling, it sounds maybe to some people, I don't know, like, how can this be possible that you can actually have this safety or feeling of safety? But I promise you, like, if you start working on this relationship inside of yourself, you're going to start feeling like, I don't know, like there's this warm presence inside of me that actually doesn't go away. What used to feel like an empty hole, I was always feeling alone, was because I didn't have this presence. But now I understand, she's here, and she's my mother and she's my father, depending on who I need at the time. And I can always go to her if I have any issues or if I need comfort of any sort. And sometimes it's harder. Sometimes she's a little bit more far away because I'm super triggered. And sometimes she's closer. So this also means I have a lot of routines and stuff that I do in order to make her feel closer to me. Like I need a lot of time for myself, for example, to be with all these parts. I need to do exercise. I need to take care of my body. I need to live in a place where I feel more calm and grounded and be around people who are more like me and have work that is meaningful and purposeful and helps people and is fun and creative and has a lot of space, etc. I need a lot of things in order to feel like I can be more of my adult self in my life. Before I used to live in a city, I was surrounded by a lot of stress. I had a work that didn't feel completely aligned. And that made it harder for me to access this adult part of me. But now today I wake up, I live on the countryside, I have a lot of sun, people who have the same worldview. It's easier for me to feel like I can be in her.
And breathe.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Yes, exactly.
It's so beautiful what you're describing, Mathilda. It's really, really beautiful.
It's amazing. I'm so grateful. And every human being can access this. Like, this is nothing to do with privilege it's a privilege to even have the capacity to even think about these things. Like, a lot of people from other parts of the world don't have this safety in their environment, so they can even talk about personal development. But if you have this privilege of you have food on the table and you have a warm house and so on, you can come to these, you can find this within yourself too.
Yeah. And it's just beautiful what you're describing. It's really, really beautiful.
And it doesn't cost it maybe costs some money to listen to or like to take courses and stuff, but it's actually essentially something that you just access within yourself.
I mean, we all have it within ourselves. I completely
everyone. And if you want to talk about faith, I believe that this is where God lies. I think this adult part of you is also the divine. That is also your soul, your essence, your light, God within you, if you will, depending on how you like things to sound.
I mean, my personal view on that is I do believe there is a God, and I think that we're all part of the divine, and we're all part of it. And that's, for me, connection is divinity in one way, right? The way we are connecting with other people. Exactly.
And we are the same, essentially. Like, everyone is so in essence, I think we are exactly the same because we're just God light. But also, as human beings, we just want to say, everyone just wants to be seen, loved, and valued for who they are.
I agree on that. So what are you really attracted to?
I am attracted to in men.
In men, I guess.
In general, I'm attracted to openness, curiosity, a willingness to do better, to live more from a heartfelt space, and to always try and see things from a new perspective. So that's like the openness and curiosity is something I love, and that's the same also for a partner, obviously, but also really kind, gentle, sensitive souls are usually what I'm attracted to, and people who wants to do better in the world, who wants to be part of developing the world, and
do something better.
Yeah. I just see who my friends are, and they are usually in this category, and I love to be surrounded by those people, and then I'm attracted by confidence. What am I attracted? Confidence and like an extrovertedness, to be able to take the room. Funny, like humor is extremely important for me. Playfulness, to be able to also let go of everything, like all the commitments, and just be, like just be and be silly, is something that I also really value.
That's beautiful. I try to get on that point of view. I'm looking at it from emotional, intellectual, and physical sexual connection. So in a romantic relationship, I would like to have like all three of those buckets, if you will.
Yeah.
So the emotional one is being able to be vulnerable on both directions.
Yes.
Intellectually is all these things that you can actually have fruitful conversations. You can share a life purpose, that you want to do things together, and also allow each other to grow and do what you want to do. That actually makes the other person happy, because that means you're going to be more happy yourself.
Yeah.
And also then the physical element is sort of, that's what, for me, also what sets apart a romantic relationship from a friendship, if you will, in some way. Because I think the first two you can have in friendships as well.
Yeah.
But the last one is really also then what actually attracts you to someone and really creates that extra energy. And I think it's a lot of that is also energetic. And I think you feel that quite quickly where you are with someone on that.
Yeah. Exactly. If there's a spark or not. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that spark, what is actually attraction? Oh my God, it's obviously magic, but it's also a lot of things that you can see. Like, you need to be on the same level of awareness, the same level of emotional maturity.
Yeah.
You probably need to have a little bit of matching wounds and stuff also in order to relate to each other. You maybe have gone through the same type of stuff in terms of like emotional pain and all these things, I think. But that is the magical mix of attraction. It's difficult to, we don't want to know too much of what it is, but everyone knows what it is.
I agree, but I think also that when you need to be on the same frequency in one way.
Exactly.
I think when you're, because what you're discovering there is, if you have gone through those things, that means that you are on a certain frequency that you can connect on that, right?
Yeah.
And if you're on two different frequencies, it's going to be very hard to do anything. And I think that's scary. And when you start seeing life that way, I think that's when you, to your point, that something positive, it is coming your way in that sense. And it's
definitely,
and a lot of people, and I think you and I are very similar there. We talked about this divine timing. It will come in divine timing to you to some point.
Exactly. And my timing seemed to be a bit later than others. So that's the only thing I'm like, oh, why? But then I can also see completely why I needed to go through all of these things in order to come to a place where I can fully love someone and be loved.
I don't think there's anything for you to stress about, to be honest. So
no, but the feeling, like, since I've always been, but I think this drive and this longing for to create a family, for example, has been there also as a driving force for me to do the work. Because I never wanted to be alone. Like, I've been alone so much in my life, and it's been the biggest heartbreak that I don't understand. Like, how do I manage to solve this problem, basically? Like, and it's been what has been driving me, and today I don't have this anymore. And it's the biggest relief ever. But I would never gone to a point where I'm also doing the work I'm doing in the world if I didn't have this pain that I wanted to fix.
No, I think what you're doing, you're spreading light. And I think that's, as a life purpose, is so beautiful in terms of what you want to do. And things are coming in divine timing for you, I'm quite sure. So
sounds good.
Everything happens for a reason. So
every damn thing in life happens for a reason. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Nothing is a coincidence. Nothing.
It isn't.
Even though sometimes we want to think it is, but it's not.
It's not.
No.
So what do you think is missing in today's dating culture in general?
Oh my gosh. Physical meetings. I hate apps. Sometimes I fall into trying them out, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this. So I think real connection of really seeing each other, period.
Yeah. I would agree on that. And I think it's, I had a conversation around this where I think a lot of relationships people are getting dopamine addicted so quickly because they're looking for the high you get when you fall in love, so to speak, right? And when you actually have love at the table, people will get scared about it. And I think they're also then missing the dopamine kick that you get. So we become consumers of relationships instead, right? It's like
exactly. I mean, it's like any other addiction.
Exactly that. I think this is what I'm seeing now. Is like people are just consuming relationships, and
yes,
also creates a lot of fear of relationships, right? And I think this is the other thing, that people are getting more and more walls around their hearts.
Yeah.
And if we think about what we talked about here, where we talked about, hey, the polarities about darkness and light, and how there is more wars. And I mean, in modern history, there has not been as many conflicts as there are today, if you would look at it like that.
Oh
right?
my gosh, I didn't know that.
No, but if you then look at it from the other side, and at the other side, we have more choice, more positive light choices we can make, right? But I also see that people get more numb, because when you are afraid of relationships, you build those walls around your hearts. It also makes you less inclined to be open for other things as well. This is my personal reflection on it.
Agree.
And I would say that when you lose that type of connection, it becomes scary, and the world becomes darker if you let it go that way, right?
Yeah.
And I think everybody has that choice, where we can actually make the choice. I do want to open up for love, and I do want to bring more light into my life. And if you do it that way, I think that's when both men and women can connect as humans, because we are ultimately humans. We're not men, yes, we're men and women, but I think ultimately we're humans.
Yeah, of course.
And I think this is what a lot of people are missing, is that we're not seeing each other as that. We're looking at it from two polarities, instead of actually seeing how do we actually meet as humans.
We're just wanting to be chosen, like that's what we're looking. Both of us just wants to be chosen, and that's a difficult point to look for a relationship from.
I agree on that. So what do you wish more women dare to express?
Oh, their feelings, their everything, their inner world. Like, I wish someone told me a few years ago that it's very okay and it's very desirable and it's very attractive to be fully who you are.
Yeah.
By men. I've never had as much attention that I have today because I'm more of myself. And I was like, what? I thought this would scare them away, but I feel like it's the opposite. And I just want to really say this to any woman who holds themselves back, that please don't do it, because you're wasting energy on something that no one wants. No one in the entire world wants you to hold back. We want women to be wild, and I wish if you could also confirm from a male perspective, men want you to be wild. They want to hear all your emotions. They want to have you as raw as possible. And also women, and everyone, like in every aspect of your life, if you can be as much of yourself as possible, you're going to have so much more fun. You're going to succeed in so many more parts of your life. You're going to feel like you're living fully. You're going to see everything from a new perspective. So let yourself go. That's what I want to inspire people to do. And it's coming from a place inside of me where I was the opposite. Like I was holding myself back so much and controlling every aspect of my life, to letting most of them go. And it's fucking amazing.
I think it's beautiful what you're describing, though. It's a beautiful message to all the women out there.
Yeah.
And I can just concur that I think a lot of men are not afraid about women in that sense, right? I think we want honest, open, vulnerable, natural women. That's sort of the most beautiful thing for most guys, right? And
if they don't love you or like you for this, they're not ready for it yet, or they're not the right person for you. So just move on to the next one, and you're going to find the person who is just like, oh my God, here you are. Like, I've been longing for you. Because what happens is that they can be themselves. They can also fall into their actual selves and their most authentic place. And you're going to magnetize the world together. So
yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
And what do you wish more men understood?
Oh, same. That you are so good as you are. You don't need to come in and fix everything. You can just be who you are and hold space just as you are. And dare to speak from your heart and dare to be vulnerable and look at your inner world and talk about that, because women loves to hear what you have inside of you. And also rawness, it's the same. Yeah, we want, like, we don't think that you're lame or too sensitive, or if you have a woman who feels that or thinks that, she's the same. She's not right for you. So open yourself up and you're going to find the most amazing partnership.
I would agree on that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mathilda, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to 34O. If something in this conversation touched you, stayed with you, or opened something new inside you, feel free to share it with someone who might need it. If you want to support the podcast, follow us on Spotify and leave a review. It helps more than you know. And remember, intimacy is a practice, presence is a choice, and love begins within. Stay open, stay present, and stay human.